What is going on, guys? It is Jay back with another banger video, and in this video I'm going to be building a day trading system that you can use on prop firms to make $10,000 a month, whether that's your first $10,000 a month or it's your second, third, or you just want to get consistent making 5 figures a month. This is going to be the system that is going to allow you to do that. It is very, very simple. I'm going to break down step by step so that you can actually use this in the market and keep it super, super efficient. Before we get into the actual system, before we get into the sauce, we have to understand exactly what you're doing and why you can't make $10,000 a month. Because if you're doing the right things, you would have been able to, make 10K a month. The reason why you keep blowing accounts, you can't find success with prop firms. The first reason, there's gonna be 3 reasons. The first reason is you over leverage and you burn the account. There's so many people that treat these prop firms like a game. You have to understand this is the most profitable business. They make multi-millions dollars a month. You have to understand that this is their business. This is their game. You are playing in their game when you're not on a live account. You're trading prop firms. So you have to be able to have a system. You can't treat it like a game and just over leverage. So the system is gonna be able to stop you from doing that, because I know that's exactly what you do, because I've met a lot of people, and this is actually what I used to do myself. I used to treat it like a game, and I used to blow these accounts, and it was because I was over leveraging. The second reason is you're too worried about how long it's gonna take. You always see these people on social media passing an account in one day, or you're just worried about a timeline. I'll be honest, like, you passing your account isn't gonna change the entire course of your life, right? Like, it's not about time, it's about being able to keep it efficient and staying level-headed. Maximizing your probabilities to not only get funded and get paid out, and that's exactly what this, system is going to allow you to do. And then you have no set system to trade, right? Like, you're just trading a random model. You're getting on the market and you're just clicking buy or sell, because it goes back to gambling, over leveraging, things like that. You don't have a system to trade. You don't have a model to actually look for. You don't have these set, rules that you need to follow. And, that's like the biggest issue that I notice in traders, especially beginner traders just starting out, is like, you guys are just going in there shooting in the dark. And so now that we understand exactly what you're doing wrong, I'm going to show you exactly how this system is going to stop you from doing all of this, and you're actually going to get consistent payouts, which is going to lead you to $10,000 a month. So if we look at this pyramid here, I want you to look at this pyramid. This is something that I built out, and this is, allows me to actually show you the system in an efficient way so that you can understand it. So I want you to understand this here. The higher that we get in this pyramid, the higher risk it's going to be, because that's what happens when you scale. If you want to be able to scale to a $10,000 a month, or just make more money in prop firms in general, you have to be willing to put higher risk on the table. So I want to make that clear. You're not just gonna be able to make 10K a month with no risk on the table. I mean, it's just not realistic. The second piece here is income. So the further that you get up the scale, the more money that you're gonna make, or the possibility that you're gonna have to make. So the first part to this pyramid and to this system is you need to have a on-chart strategy build, right? So you need to build a strategy that's actually going to allow you to stay efficient on the market. You need to have a strategy, right? Because if you don't have a strategy, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to stay consistent, in the markets and get to where you want to go. So I have a system that I trade, and I have a system that all my students trade that allow them to be able to get results like this. We look at this Riker, joined the program with 0 trading experience, 0 knowledge, and got a payout within 2 months because of this strategy. Land in here with his first 3 months of joining the program, he got his first 5-figure payout, which is an $18,000 payout. And then you can see here Caden just with a $500 payout. Okay, so this system, it works, right? It's proven. This is the same strategy that my students trade. Follow me on Instagram. You see me posting results all the time. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this strategy is actually going to look like on TradingView. Okay, guys, so we're on TradingView here. I'm going to show you guys an example of the model that I actually trade. This is a prop firm scaling video, so we're just going to go into this really briefly, but I do want to give you guys a gist and understanding of how I'm actually trading the market so that you guys can actually implement it into your system that allows you to scale, with prop firms. So looking at this here, what I'm always doing first is I'm identifying the market narrative. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? And then I'm going to align myself with that and find a key level that resonates with that narrative. So pretty easy here. The market's been super, super bearish. You can see we're just continuing to break these lows. And so, in this market, like, everybody's saying, oh, well, I think this has got to be the bottom. It's like, align yourself with the bias. You don't need to overcomplicate it. The moment that you start doing that is when everything is going to get, tough for you, right? So if we look at this here, I'm looking for a bearish key level that the market has tapped and respected, and I can actually follow that narrative for, in this case, a continuation just to the downside. So what we can see here is the market is, currently respecting this bearish fair value gap on the 4-hour. And then we also had came up and taken this high. And I want you guys to notice the wicks. This is something that I'm focusing on a lot, and a lot of people overlook. If you can really identify wicks on a high level and really understand them on a high level, it makes everything so much easier and so much clearer when you're reading the markets. After taking this high and tapping into this gap, this candle had closed 270 points off the top. That's showing a lot of bearish momentum, and that leads me to believe that we're going to want to take this low, you know, in the near time. And so me looking at this here, I would have a bearish narrative. I don't care about this bullish for value gap because it's not aligned with my bias. My bias is bearish here. So looking at this hourly time frame, that's 6 a.m. That's actually market open for me. So what you can see here is we have, you know, a beautiful close on that candle. I would be looking for sells right at open, more than likely down into, you know, kind of take these lows here. So I'd for sure be looking for this low here. And, you know, entry model here is not something that's like super complicated. You know, my entry model is fairly simple. So essentially what I would look for here for my entry model is going to be a low time frame power 3. What you can see here is, you know, this large wick was the one that we were looking at. This is actually Trump data. So you can see we had wicked all the way up into here. And again, you know, I want to see, you know, this low get taken in the near future. Now, I'm not going to target this low, way too far, right? But I want to look to target, you know, this 3 a.m. low. This looks really solid. And then also I could look for, you know, this low that's on the way as well. So what I'd be looking for here, I would want to see some sort of manipulation at open so that I can take it lower. So you can see we have a bunch of accumulation here. I'd want to see the top of this range get manipulated. And then I'd look for sells down into more than likely target this level and use this, you know, low and this low down there as a reason for why I want to see that low get taken, obviously. So let's see what we can see at open here. So boom, immediate manipulation of that level. And what I'm looking for my entry model is you can see we had a really strong push here. I'm just looking for an impulsive move lower that's going to allow me to enter the market and give me a reason that the market actually is going to go lower. So here, honestly, this would be enough for me to, you know, take this entry. You know, it's a really strong close on that candle, about 33 points after taking that high. And then I would definitely look for, you know, this low here for about a 2 risk to reward. And then I would look to break even at this AM low that we've put in. So let's kind of see how this plays out. And it absolutely bleeds out to take profit. I actually took this trade here. Really solid trade. So that's a little bit of an overview on how I'm trading. It may be similar. Take parts of this, implement it in your trading. So you actually have a system to follow. So let's go ahead and head back over to Miro. So coming back to this pyramid here, once we've found an on-chart strategy, we then need to backtest / forward test that unique model that you have, right? So like everybody has their own way of trading. So like somebody else's, you know, you could be trading a similar model, but it's not going to produce the same results because you're a unique trader yourself. So you need to be able to backtest this data and collect data from it. And so the way that I'm backtesting and the way that I'm collecting data on that unique model before I actually put it into the charts, so I have a series of framework that I'm actually following, right? So my model backtesting framework here is we need a sample size of positions, right? You can't take 10 trades and get a win rate from it and so say this model has X win rate. You have to actually have a really solid sample size. So minimum of 50 trades on that model backtested. Now this is not even close to enough data that you need, but I would say 50 trades absolute floor, absolute minimum. You know, 100 trades is ideally because the data actually becomes significantly more meaningful and actually valid, right? Realistically, if you want the most accurate win rate, you should be collecting, you know, anywhere from 200 to 300 trades. I think 500 is typically, you know, what you should be sitting at is like a sample size of 500 positions. Then you can kind of say, okay, this model works efficiently. This model has X win rate. But like 100 trades really isn't gonna give you too much data. Typically, I know I don't want you guys to like shortcut it. I want you guys to like, if you can do 500 trades, take the time on that model and not rush it. 500 trades is realistically, you know, what you should be looking for to actually, okay, consider, you know, that model efficient. And then looking at win rate, you know, shoot for a minimum of 1 to 2 risk reward on every trade. I'm not somebody that's really like a high risk reward trader. I think that win rate is much more important. And so at 1 to 2 RR, you only need to be right 33% of the time to be a break-even trader. So basically that benchmark should be, okay, below 33% means there's something wrong with your model. You're just not that good of a trader yet. You need more time backtesting to refine the way of trading because this is kind of the threshold of like, okay, either your model isn't good or you just don't understand that model because every single model works. It's just you're just not efficient enough with it. And then like 40% plus is realistically where you should be if you want to see success, you know, over time with that model, you know, that you're trading, right? So like over 40% is what you should be shooting for. You know, you want to be sitting anywhere for like 50 to 60% is like really solid with like a 2 to 1 risk reward. But again, you don't need to be right 33% of the time to be a break-even trader there. That's kind of like the backtesting framework that I'm following and the backtesting framework that you should follow as well. Okay, guys, so getting into this third part is where we're actually starting to heat up and actually talk about prop firms and actually understand, okay, what is the first step to actually applying this model? I want you guys to pay attention very closely in this part because this is super important. Let's get into it. So the third part of this, you know, pyramid is going to be prop firm pass and test. Okay, so this is actually going to be us passing the prop firms so that we can actually get funded capital and we can actually start making money with it. So, you know, going over here talking about prop firms, is prop firm selection and getting funded. The prop firm that I use, prop firm that I recommend you use as well, is Apex Trader Funding. Super good firm. I've used them for the longest time. They just had a huge update and made this firm just got way better. 50% consistency rule, which is freaking awesome. But before we kind of talk about this plan, let's just head over to Apex and kind of look at the rules and things like that and just everything that we need to know. So we're here on Apex. We're going to take a look at the rules just so you understand Apex and that you know everything that you need to know. So, looking at this here, they actually have two different account types. Well, size, we always want to go with the 50K. That's what I trade, is 50K accounts. So you want to select the type here. They have intraday trailing drawdown and they have EOD. So they just introduced EOD. It used to only be intraday before. You always want to go with EOD. This is going to be end of day trailing drawdown instead of intraday. So intraday, that'll be calculated for unrealized gains, and that can really mess you up. And that's the one thing I used to really not like about Apex. Never want to go with intraday. You always want to go with EOD. And so just to kind of talk about, and then vendor, obviously, you want to go TradeAvate here so you can trade on TradingView. So kind of talking about these 50K account rules. What we can see here is minimum days to pass is going to be 1, meaning a 1 day pass. I love this. 1 day pass is really solid, especially if you've had experience with prop firms. You have a really good understanding and you're confident in the market. If you're not somebody that's confident in the market, never go for a 1 day pass. With my students that are just starting out, you should never be 1 day passing unless you have a strategic approach to it. And then max contracts would be 6 minis, 60 micros, and then profit target is super similar to all the other firms, 3K and then 2K minimum drawdown type, end of day, and then daily loss limit is going to be 1K. And then obviously platform features TradingView compatible. We always want to hook this up to TradingView, so we always want to select TradeAvate as our vendor, and then we want to hook that up to TradingView so we can trade right on TradingView. I personally like TradingView so much more than Project X. It actually just feels like trading. You can probably relate to this if you've traded Project X before. It just feels kind of like a game and gambling, and you don't really like it. But anyways, I digress. Apex's rules are really simple. It gets a little bit more tricky when we talk about the performance count, but that's for a little bit later in the video. Let's kind of just focus on the eval for right now. But super simple, 50K TradeAvate account. Now kind of talking about the game plan, the risk management, things like that. So a basic overview of how you should trade this eval is we know that the account target is going to be 3K in profit, right? So we have the 3K profit target. You should be risking anywhere from $500 to $600 $600 per trade. So about half of the DLL. And the reason why I say this is because you want to keep your risk parameters tight. You don't want to over leverage, but you don't want to under leverage. I always tell this, to people is the guy that takes, less trades is always going to be more profitable, because trading is a game of probabilities. So the guy that's taking 30 trades to pass his eval, 20 trades to pass his eval, is going to have a very tough time compared to the guy that's only, taking 4 trades on his eval. And then profit per trade should be 1 to 1.2K with a 2.1 risk reward, meaning you really only need 3 clean winners to pass his eval. So you have 3 wins in a row, follow these risk parameters, you should be big, chill, and get into that profit target easy. And then you hit $3,000 consistency on your evals. You want to be you're gonna sit probably around a 40 to 45% win rate. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's you want anywhere from a 40-45% win rate if you want to kind of hit that 3K profit target super cleanly. Because if you have a 40% win rate, you can easily get three clean winners in a row. So that's kind of a basic overview of kind of how you should attack these evals. And then one mistake that will blow this system up, I can't stress this enough. This is people's biggest issue. This was my biggest issue and why I'm stressing it so much. Revenge trading after loss will blow this system up. I guarantee you. This is the biggest issue. You have to understand that if you want to get to where you want to go efficiently, you have to follow a set system and a set plan. This is the plan to do so. I promise you guys, look at how easy it is. You need 3 clean winners if you stick to this here. The moment that you overtrade, none of this matters anymore. None of it. It's all out the window. This is never going to work if you don't follow this here, right? 1 trade a day, guys. It's this easy if you follow the system. So that's going to kind of be, Apex's eval. Let's kind of head to the next step here, which is going to be getting your first payout. So when it comes to getting your first payout, there's a certain way that you want to attack getting, that first payout on that account compared to, when you're copy trading, things like that. You're going to be in a different mental state, and you should always approach it in a different mind state, and, making sure that you're just focusing on consistency. You're not really focused on a crazy dollar amount. And so coming back to Apex here, we're actually going to go back to Apex and we're going to look at kind of this performance account, kind of rules and everything you need to know about it. We'll kind of hop on Myro and do a little bit more of it, but just a basic overview, keeping it simple, one-time activation fee, $119. There's an activation fee. And then 7 days from eval pass, right? So your activation deadline does have to be 7 days, from the time that you pass the eval, you get the certificate and you have to activate it. Your payout frequency is 5 trading days. So every single 5 trading days, you can request a payout, okay? It's obviously something that like every firm has. You have to wait a certain number of, a payout cycle. And then max accounts is 20. This is absolutely absurd. I'm surprised they didn't actually take this down, a little bit lower from when they, did this update. But 20 accounts is absolutely absurd. You can copy trade 20 accounts at a time. We'll kind of talk about scaling here in just one moment. But, max contracts would be 4 minis or 40 micros. And then max drawdown, same thing as eval, is going to be 2K. And then obviously end of day, there is a daily loss limit. And then consistency rule is going to be 50%. So essentially what this consistency rule means is in order to be eligible for a payout, your largest winning day has to be lower than 50% of your total profits made on the account, right? So I'm going to say that again. With your total profits that you've made, your largest winning day has to be 50% or lower to keep, your consistency rule in check. For a 50K PA plan, here's exactly what you need to run. Okay, this is exactly what I run. Starting balance is always going to be 50K, right? Your payout eligibility is going to be past 52,600. If you've traded Apex before, you know that. Okay, we want to shoot for a 1.5K payout before stacking accounts. I want to make this so clear. Do not copy trade if you haven't gotten a payout before. Okay, don't do that. That's the biggest issue people make. Okay. 1.5K payout before stacking accounts. You need to get your balance to about 53,600, okay, to be able to request a 1.5. Okay, risk per trade, anywhere from $500 to $600 per trade. Risk reward needs to be about 1 to 2 RR. Okay, no single day is 50% or over your total profits, meaning your largest winning day cannot be over 1.8K if you want to, request a 1.5, okay, with this account balance. You have to understand this by the consistency rule, because this is where so many people get blown up. And this goes directly back to over leverage and you burn the account. You're going to break your consistency rule and you just need to make more money, okay? And it sucks, okay? It just makes it so much harder. Like, stop over leveraging. The moment that you stop over leveraging is the moment that everything becomes so much easier. Okay, and so now actually talking about, okay, well, how do I know what I'm ready to scale? Is when your KPIs make sense. Okay, after you've gotten that first payout, you've proven to yourself that you understand how to trade, you understand these markets. Okay, this is essentially a tracker here that I've given all my mentorship students to be able to track their statistics day over day, week by week, month by month. So you can see day 1 all the way up over to day 17. You should be tracking all of your metrics here to prove that you're actually a consistent, profitable trader. You're going to be tracking all of your trades, funding, mindset, and then it's going to give you a grade at the end of the day. It gives all my students a grade. This is just mock data here. I don't want to expose like my actual students' data, but asks you tons of different metrics. Okay, session, pre-market bias, win rate, total risk reward, P&L, rules followed, prop firm account, P&L towards your target, and then what do you need help with. And this allows me to understand, okay, what do my students actually need help with, and by me reviewing this data, I can pinpoint the exact issue that they're actually having in their trading. I can give them a fix so that moving forward they understand what the next step is. But depending on how your metrics and KPIs are actually looking, then that's going to tell you if you're ready to actually scale. And so talking about scaling here, it's really, really simple. If you run this across 7 accounts, that's a 10.5K month. It's really, really simple. It does not need to be complicated. Exactly what we just did is build a step-by-step system to being able to make $10,000 a month through prop firm trading. It's a super, super simple system. The thing that it comes down to is discipline and being able to stay consistent in the markets. And if you do this correctly, you will be able to hit a $10,000 a month through prop firms. It's super, super simple. If you guys do want to learn from me and get different consumables like this, also other things like having 24/7 access to me and my head coach, also having 3 live classes a week, access to all my trade recaps, access to all of my nightly estimates, and then also over 50 hours of strategy recordings. You can apply down in the first link in the description for Profit X Academy. I just released this. It's been a great time so far. I've really enjoyed growing with the guys and just being able to teach them every single night and give them a piece of my knowledge so that they can implement that into their trading. But I digress. If you want to apply for Profit X Academy, you can click the first link in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment what video you want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.